Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is John Wilson, the national spokesman for the Freedom Union here in Australia. And today is Sunday, the 2nd of November, 2025. I'm in sunny Brisbane in Queensland. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Paul Pettit. Paul, a great ambassador and a great activist for the Freedom Union here in Australia. He's down in Melbourne. Paul, good evening. How are you, sir?
G'day, John. Yes, Paul, coming from the crazy nuthouse communist Melbourne, Victoria.
We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, Paul. There was a recent set of protests all around Australia, and another recent one before that at Hyde Park in Sydney that both you and I were at, and we're going to talk about that as well. But look, Paul, Melbourne, there was a recent protest down there. You attended as an observer. You're a great activist, and tell me, how did it go? It looked like a clustered fuck from here, mate.
Well, look, it's interesting. Really, unless you live in Melbourne and live through the lockdowns, it's like only Victorians can have a really deep understanding. It's like I can't talk about Brisbane so well or Sydney, even though I've got a basic grasp. Now, Melbourne, the protest I went to, I just sort of more went as an observer, just like to keep your finger on the pulse. And the last protest with all the blue flag wavers, the numbers were down, but it was just like we say Melbourne is an absolute mess. Well, I kind of disagree with that. I feel that, like, just the other night, Joel Jamal and all his mates, all these freedom fighter blow-in mates, I forget their names, he was doing an interview and he was saying that Melbourne is a basket case. Now, I believe he's only saying that because the Victorian people want nothing to do with him. I believe he says it's a basket case because Victorians will never accept Joel Jamal and his mates down here. We've already got sort of our established people, right or wrong, they're established. The Thanoses, the Jackie Dundees, all these people, whether you agree with them or not, they are established here in Victoria, and they're not going to let in the Shallows and the Joel Jamals. And I'm wondering why Beck Freedom even had to shoot through to Sydney. Anyway, what do you think?
Yeah, that's interesting. So, look, Paul, the big question is, did you see any projectiles, any dangerous projectiles being hurled at the Victorian police? I mean, they're claiming some heavy-duty charges here.
Look, I was right on the front line with the socialist alternative mob, and my role is I like to know both sides of the story. So when I got there, I just stick on me Palestinian badge, and I'll go and mix with all the socialist alternative mob and all the purple-haired mob and all that, and all the trannies, and I'm okay. And I'll just get the gist and I'll have a chat, and they were not a bad bunch. They're a bit noisy, banging drums and carrying on. And then you had, in between them, you had the orange bollards and you had the coppers, the port police. I'm standing there right there watching this. And what happened was it wasn't really rowdy enough. So one of the bloody coppers, the port mob, they've got the red badge here. He threw a couple of flashbangs in amongst the bloody uni students, the socialist alternatives. I couldn't find any Palestinians. I didn't find any of them, and that really stirred the mess. That really was like stirred the possum up. And then the copper jumped the bloody bollard and went and attacked the uni students. And look, I don't agree with them. I don't like anything they've got to say, to be honest, but they really didn't deserve that. I did not see any injured cops or any rocks thrown. Now, I met a mate today when I went for a kayak down in Kananook, And I just bumped into a mate in the middle of the river, funny enough, and she was at the protest too. It was pretty random. And she said the same thing. There were no rocks. It was all bullshit. And I tell you what, Constable Cheeseman, if I was able to give him a gold logie for that performance, tipping them rocks out on the bloody ground, I'd give him a gold logie, mate.
No one believes the police anymore. No one believes anything the police say. They are just outright liars. And by law, they're allowed to lie to the public without any accountability. By law, they have that lawful right, and they lie. You always know the police are lying when their lips are moving, right? That's the facts of the matter. And I'm finding it very interesting. They're playing the sympathy card with the public. Oh, look at poor old us. We've been, having things hurled at us, when in fact, once again, it looks like because I can't find evidence that anything was thrown at them, anything.
Where's the video? Where's the camera footage?
Yeah, where's the evidence?
It's like when they said everyone urinated on the shrine. Bullshit. Where's the evidence?
Yeah, no, there's none.
Yeah.
So let's keep moving on, mate. Look. I think that the protest movement here in Australia is basically fucking gone. It's basically gone. You've got sectarian interests which have infiltrated the protest movement, and you've got Freemasonic forces, you've got Zionist forces that are hijacking the Palestinian movement, Freemasonic forces which have hijacked and are hijacking the protest movement. I mean, what happened in Hyde Park in Sydney, Paul, was extraordinary. An extraordinary intervention by the New South Wales Police to make sure that the Freedom Union was locked out of that protest. And the Freemasonic forces in the freedom movement, I'm talking Graham Hood and Mary Petticoat and these people, right in thick with the Freemasons, right in thick with the police, okay, to make sure that we could not participate. They had a special lane blocked off. They had a purpose-built machine that turned into a stage, all hydraulic. I mean, it was like a military operation to lock us out. So you can see it, ladies and gentlemen. The protest movement, I think, in Australia is just about fucked, okay? None of it's genuine. It's all being hijacked by one minority interest group or another, and I can't see. Listen, sometimes, Paul, when I'm looking around trying to work out what the hell's going on, I go back in history. And look, has this happened before historically, and how was it handled? Now, Martin Luther King had this to say about protests, protest marches, okay? And if I can, I'd like to be able to play this if I can, okay? Hang on.
I'm tired of marching. Tired of marching for something that should have been mine at birth. I don't mind saying to you tonight. I don't mind saying to you tonight that I'm tired of the tension surrounding our day. I don't mind saying to you tonight that I'm tired of living every day under the threat of death. I have no martyr complex. I want to live as long as anybody in this building tonight, and sometimes I begin to doubt whether I'm going to make it through. I must confess I'm tired.
Yes, well, I've got to say, Paul, that so am I. I mean, I'm tired of these marches, mate. I'm tired of them, okay? You have been an exemplary example of an activist who goes to just about every march, and you have done, Paul. I commend you for it, okay? Now, I'm going to give you my thoughts. Number one, at none of these marches, do they ever open with a prayer, ever. There is no acknowledgement whatsoever that we are in a spiritual war. None at all. None. Here in Brisbane, the organisers of the event up in Brisbane used to force down our neck repeatedly this fake Aboriginal welcoming ceremony. It was just so fake. I mean, here in Brisbane, Paul, we've gone from marches, regular marches of 60,000 people down to 4,000 people. 4. And at the last march, about 2,000 of them walked out on the event organiser because they were just so disgusted with his contribution. These public marches, mate, I'm sick of them. I'm sick of them. They're fake. They are fake. And the ones that are organising them are the Freemasons, the Zionists, and law enforcement, the cops. None of them are genuine.
It's almost like they've drained everyone's energy deliberately, John.
Correct.
Energy.
Correct.
It's like they've just led. During the lockdown marches, I believe they were genuine. We didn't worry about permits, and we didn't worry about coppers. We ran over the top of them. You know, down here in Melbourne, you saw in Richmond all the footage. They were genuine. And then after the lockdowns, it slowly became these bloody corralled, special permitted bloody. The only things the coppers didn't have was a cattle prod, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, they have. They've drained everyone.
Look, they want everyone drained, everyone exhausted, so that when they're going to come and offer them. Look, I'm going to play another one, and I want to talk to this, right? Okay. This next piece is a great American singer called Harry Belafonte, and Harry makes a contribution. He just attended a freedom committee, which regularly used to be held in America, and he'd just been to this meeting with Martin Luther King. And after the meeting, Martin Luther King admitted something to Harry Belafonte, and it's a very interesting admission, and I want to speak on it after we play it. So just listen to this if you can.
I'll let you know. Comes up. Yeah.
He was at my home. We had just finished a strategy meeting on the Poor People's Campaign. And he seemed quite agitated after what we thought was a very successful gathering and discussion. And he said to me, I said, what's the matter, Martin? You seem very agitated. He said, well, I am. Because I've come upon a thought, but I don't know how to deal with it this moment. I said, well, what is it? He said, we fought long for integration. It looks like we're going to get it. I think we get the laws. He says, but I'm afraid that I've come upon something I don't know quite what to do with. I'm afraid that we're integrating into a burning house. And when we asked for further clarification, Andy Young was with me at that time, my wife, others. He said, America's lost whatever little moral vision it had. Its moral sense has run away from the nation. And a nation that is not governed by morality and moral principles is a nation that's headed for an abyss. And I think black people have been struggling to get into this system, maybe getting into a system that in the final analysis is a Sodom and Gomorrah, will not work. Because its selfish goals, its need for profit, its need for supremacy, its need to be the best, has clouded its moral vision. And with no moral vision, no nation can be healthy enough to lead its people anywhere except to destruction. Dr. King.
How true? How true?
Yeah, there's a few points in there, Paul, and I want to try and draw a bit of a bow, if I can. Look, what we are seeing at the moment is we are seeing the Freemasons and some of these people in these secret societies offering to give ground, right, to people if they buy in to their agenda, right? Okay. And they're saying, hey, you want a slice of the action? Come and join us. Come and join us. I want to just warn everyone out there. Look, the Freemasonic Zionist secret society house is on fire. It's on fire, and it's going to burn down. And you have all of these turncoats, all of these enablers who are saying, come and dine with us. Come and sit at our table. We're having a big feast. There's plenty of food, plenty of food. All you got to do is keep agreeing that we have a right to run your society, etc., etc. So they're inviting everyone in, everyone's saying, oh, wow, lots of food here, but their entire house is on fire. It's on fire. And Martin Luther King was right when he said to Harry Belafonte, he said, look, a nation that has no morals, and if we're not governed by morals and principles and so on, is going to go over a cliff into the abyss. That's the only place it can go. And that's where Australia is heading for. We have a very evil belligerent occupation. They're into occultism. They're into debauchery. I mean, having wild sex parties in the prayer room in Parliament House and so on. I mean, we really, really are being governed by some evil people here, Paul, and they are going to lead the entire country over a cliff if we don't pull this up. And Martin Luther King is saying their house is on fire. Their house is on fire. It's going to burn down. Don't go inside and sit at the table, at their table, and think you're getting a free lunch, because you will not get a free lunch. You'll go down in the house with them. Okay? And I thought that was an interesting contribution that Martin made to Harry Belafonte.
And John, how many of these blow-in bloody freedom pop-up bloody leaders, self-appointed leaders, that have slimed their way in with their bullshit rhetoric, like they know everything?
The Freemasons manufacture heroes. If you want a hero, they'll go and manufacture one for you and give it to you. And the public keeps buying it.
Well,
they keep buying fake heroes.
Well, Hood told us all to go home from Canberra. He destroyed the bloody but a lot of people still worship him, and to me, it just seems absolutely crazy, John. And
Graham Hood's a self-admitted Freemason. Graham Hood.
Yes, it's on.
It was Craig Kelly. It was Graham Hood, and those other participants down there that absolutely torpedoed the Canberra protest. It's open for everyone to see.
Yes.
Hyde Park recently, Paul. It was Graham Hood and the same Freemasonic sources that denied us participation, outmuscled us with the law enforcement. 1,000 police rocked up against a group of mums and dads wanting to deliver water, toilets, barbecues, and so on. Atrocious, Paul.
They were never going to let us have that barbecue. Like 48 hours before, they were already set up hovering around that park to destroy that barbecue, John.
Right.
And I saw it with my own eyes. And by the way, these Hoods and all these other these blow-ins, when have we ever heard them talk about the 28 pedophiles in Parliament? When have we ever heard them talking about child trafficking? Nothing, John. Bloody nothing.
Keep talking for a minute, Paul. I'm just going to plug something in, brother. Okay, keep talking. 1 minute.
All right. Now you got me. I've got to fly solo. Yeah. Look, Melbourne is a sort of different dynamic down here, guys. Melbourne is actually, look, if you talk to people in the street, Melbourne is very damaged. It was pretty dark times down here during the lockdown, guys. It's a different dynamic, yeah. Just so you sort of understand a little bit.
Look, the thing I'm finding bizarre, Paul, is this resistance to these protesters, any of these protesters, to join the union. I mean, you've gone up and spoke to them about the Freedom Union, particularly the Palestinian protesters and so on, and you cannot get them to budge.
No, they can't see. What blows my mind is that they can't see the remedy we are providing for them. And I say to them, look, are you okay funding these war criminals? Because you're here protesting about war crimes, but you're funding them. Here you go. Would you like to have a look at this? Or what's that? Freedom Union? Oh, they weren't. I don't know, John. You're offering remedy, and they're not taking it.
Yeah.
I'm bloody well taking it.
I've done everything I can to promote the union, Paul. I know you have. You've been a great ambassador. I thank you very much for it. And I've been out doing public meetings and speaking to people and so on. And by jingo, mate, it's tough. It's really tough. I got interviewed a couple of years ago and I was asked, what was needed to build a union. And I said, listen, you've got to have at least 1,000 people, mate. You've got to have at least 1,000 people. And I thought in this environment, I mean, what astounds me, Paul, is that with the National Strike Australia, because that's where we come from, remember, I set the National Strike up, National Strike Australia up. We set the petition and the voting and all this sort of stuff up, right? And we had about 22,000 signatories, 22,000 signatories that participated or supported in the National Strike Australia. And I had hundreds of people reaching out to me saying, John, we needed a trade union to support it and so on and so on. And so I made the decision to and that was a big deal, mate, a big deal, a big job. And so we set up the Freedom Union here in Australia. Lots of money, lots of effort, and all the rest of it. And yet we've only had a fraction of those 22,000 people have joined from the National Strike Australia have joined the Freedom Union. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. I mean, you and I have flown up to, those people, those thinking people, Paul, who know the value and, people like former Senator Len Harris, he joined the Freedom Union in a heartbeat. He said, this is a really great asset and Australia needs it, right? And there's been many others. I mean, Simeon Boykov, as soon as he saw it, he said, yep, this is a good asset. We need to promote it, and he has, right? So the smart money knows what we are doing. The smart money really is behind this union, but we don't have enough of them, and that's the problem, Paul.
Well, John, what is actually missing at this moment in time in Australia? Unity. What does the Freedom Union offer? Bloody unity,
Correct.
We can hit them with 1,000 people, not one bloke standing on a corner waving a flag saying elbows. This suckhole.
Yep.
1,000 of us saying that.
I know, mate.
I don't want to sound like I'm whinging. I just would love people to jump.
Look, Paul, the strength of this union, strategic positioning of this union is unlimited. If it gets the support, right, if it gets the traction, right, it's going to be a force, a real force. It's not that hard, not that difficult to work out. We are working under international law. What we've done is international law cuts both ways. It cuts us, but it cuts them as well. What we are doing is we are positioning ourselves to protect ourselves and to cut them, and we're very smart about how we go about it.
Well, international law is very much on deck now. I don't know what you would have noticed. It's very much on deck now, and for all the newbies out there, international law is a higher jurisdiction way to attack these mongrels. That's all what I'll say.
Yes. And, we've demonstrated the value in what we are doing and how we are going about it. You can see, what people have to understand, the war that's going on now, right, is within the freedom movement. That's the war. Okay. Forget about unity inside of the freedom movement. It's never going to happen. You have a group of people there that are Freemasonic, that are Zionists in nature, right? You've got people with their own self-interest, money, power, position, all of that. They are trying to front run this reset. They're trying to front run it. The same people that betrayed you are going to offer themselves to you as your solution. They're hoping that you are so tired, so beaten down, so weary and exhausted that you just roll over and give in to them. You need this union in play, ladies and gentlemen. You really do. Australia does. One of the things about a union, right, even when it's not actively campaigning, it's ready. You've got it there, armed, not physically armed with weapons and that.
No.
I'm talking politically, and I'm talking organisationally armed, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
their worst nightmare. Their worst nightmare.
Yeah, and you have, I mean, again, Simeon Boykov was very right when he said, look, the police and authorities fear any organisation that can move logistics, rock up with trucks, pallet loads of water, barbecues and toilets and you know, stages and sound systems and so on. They are terrified of that, terrified. Okay,
clearly, John.
Because that's the only reason they've kept control of the protest movement now, because for no other reason than they rock up with their sound system and they won't let anyone else use it. That's the only reason they're chairing any of these meetings.
John, I truly believe, you know, in the Sydney rally, after they smashed our barbecue and all that bloody nonsense, of course, I went in actually with Sean Ambrose. We just went and mingled in the crowd and got the, you know, we got the grassroots sort of opinion. The Bush Telegraph is very, very powerful. And I can honestly say that there were a lot of those blue flag wavers that were saying to me and Sean, look, we're not going to go and listen to these bloody, these puppet clowns. We don't like Hoodie. We don't like any of them. We reckon they're full of shit. We're here for Australia. So, I mean, and by the way, what happened with those clowns that accused Simeon of threatening to kill? Have they proven that yet?
No, they've
What a
got
load of
nothing.
shit. Honest to God. But the good news is, John, I truly believe people are starting to see it. They really are.
Yeah. No, I agree, Paul. I agree. Look, Paul, there's a lot of ground I want to cover, right? A lot of other ground I want to cover. The future of the union, Paul. The future. Where are we going? I want to talk about Birchgrove Legal. Can we talk about that? Now, for all of the members' information, right? I've received a written response from Birchgrove Legal. The union spent about $5,000 or $5,500 in funds to go and, you know, at least get some legal work done on this. I'm going to release this letter. I've asked them to write to me and to debrief, and I'm going to email that out to all of the union members early next week, so everyone will get a copy of it. The last conversation that I had with Birchgrove went for over 2 hours, and it involved, their head legal practitioner and the instructing solicitor. And we covered so much ground. There's a lot of ground that can't be articulated in this letter. Okay, it just can't be. They've had to be a bit careful how they word things. Okay, but I'm going to distribute this letter, and I'm going to open up and have a talk about it next week. I'll get you back, Paul, if you can, and we'll talk this letter through. Okay, and there's a few other matters, a bit of other ground I want to cover with you, Paul. But let's finish up this one tonight. We've experimented with sharing a couple of files with Martin Luther King. I'll put those links, YouTube links, out with the email that people can press on them. And those segments, Harry Belafonte and Martin Luther, I'm hoping that they've been captured as part of this recording tonight. But Paul, look, finish up, mate. Finish up. The future of the union, anything you like. The floor is yours, brother.
Well, it's things are a little bit weird at the moment, as we all know, and we're just sort of plodding along at the moment, watching the clown show. I mean, have a look at Albo and Trump. I mean, we all got up at 4 a.m. and went online because we wanted to see President Trump tear that clown to pieces. And what happened was he took Albo under his wing, and he had Albo mocking that stupid bloody crud clown, which was an absolute embarrassment. And can you see how this bloody President Trump works? I mean, he's amazing. So now he's got this bloody Albo. Why would he tear Albo to pieces when Albo's doing everything Trump tells him to do, including the mineral deals and all of that? I mean, this Trump, I'd hate to play chess against the bugger, I can tell you that. But yeah, anyway, mate, that's just my 2 bob.
Look, I think you're right, Paul. I think that look, one of the things that Australians need to understand, I know there's a fair bit of focus on the USA and what's happening in the USA. I get that. And a lot of people want to know, well, what's happening in Australia. But the problem with that thinking is that the US Justice Department, they have operatives embedded inside of our Commonwealth Department of Public Prosecutions. The Federal Bureau of Investigation have senior officers embedded inside the Australian Federal Police. This used to be advertised on their website. I used to see all this sort of stuff, right? So the USA, they have been controlling and directing our police, our law enforcement, and our prosecutions. These have been in there for years, going back to Hillary Clinton. And they were there to control the Australian bureaucracy and our prosecutions, our law enforcement, and our judicial. So, that's why it is important to keep an eye on the USA. That's why. You've got to have one eye on the USA and one eye in Australia. Alexander Downer was the guy, an Australian in the diplomatic corps, was the guy who started off the Russiagate collusion stuff. I mean, that's a hangable offence. Offence. So, Australia, have a look at the Clinton Foundation. Australia, the biggest donator of any party, the Australian government, to the Clinton Foundation in the world. We're in up to our bollocks with all this corruption, child trafficking, and all this other stuff. Australia is tied right up in there. And that's why we have to watch America and watch our own backyard at the same time, ladies and gentlemen. I get it. I want to know what's happening here in Australia just as much as everyone else. But we are being ruled by a global crime syndicate, a global crime syndicate, and they are controlling all of these countries around the world, and that's what has to be cleaned up and cleaned out, and that's what President Trump first stop is cleaning America out and fixing up the USA. Without her, none of the rest of us have any hope in hell. And I want to finish this off, Paul, and we'll say goodnight and simply say, and I've articulated this before, Australia right now and in the near future, what it needs is international friends. We have no friends internationally. The only friend we have internationally is bloody Israel. And why? It's because we're helping them commit war crimes. That's our only friend, okay? We need international friends. When you have international other people, millions, hundreds of millions of people watching what's going on here in Australia, it keeps the spotlight on the Albanese government, etc., etc. So we need international friends. The 2 most important countries internationally that we really need to be friends with is, one goes without saying because it's been that way for half a century, that's the United States of America. We need American friends, okay? Now, the other, believe it or not, is Russia. It's the Russian Republic, Vladimir Putin. We need Russian friends, okay? We do. They are the mover and shaker with the BRICS. which is destroying the central banking system and so on, right? They are a huge force throughout the world. Now, the two people here in Australia, the activists who have been red-pilled and understand the danger that our country was in, is Rick Bosey from Australia One, who has enormous reach inside the American market. And we also have Simeon Boykov, who has enormous reach inside the Russian population. Okay. And it's the union's position, and I've said this publicly, is that we would love to work with both these guys and to have a common cause amongst us so that we could generate international friends and international pressure to put on this government to back off. Okay. And and I still say this. Now, I've had no success up to date. I mean, it's no secret that myself and the Freedom Union, we're great friends with Australia One and with Rick Bosey. We're great friends, and we will remain so. And it's also well known that we are great friends with Simeon Boykov. Simeon Boykov is a member of our union. Now, I've tried to get both of these players to try and find some common ground. Up to date, I haven't been successful. And I'd like to. I mean, for the good of the country, I'd like to. Okay. We need international friends badly, very badly. It's not just international law that applies and international law that has applicability and so on. It's international politics, international military, international, all of that stuff. And Russia and America are two great powers in the world today. And the two are Vladimir Putin and President Donald Trump. And we have two players, not John Wilson. John Wilson's a nobody. I'm a nobody. I have no reach with anyone, right? But these two guys have great reach. And if we can, get them committed to a common cause, right? And, they're great assets. I've said this previously too. They're great assets to this nation, both of them. But if they want to get treated like great assets and great people, they've got to start acting like it, okay? And if they do that, mate, the Australian people, I think, are going to be very grateful. So anyway, that's my rant for tonight, Paul. Thank you very much. We've been at it now for about 50 minutes. Will you come back for another one, Paul? I've got a couple of other nice, big, juicy issues I want to have with you, okay? But
Well,
50 minutes is enough for one.
Well, and I'm sure there'll be lots of new juicy bloody things to talk about too. So yes, look forward to it.
All right, Paul. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's John Wilson, National Spokesman of the Freedom Union. Today is Sunday, the 2nd of November. The year's winding 6 weeks until Christmas, folks. So good night and come back again.